This, like the bed in the other room, was spare furniture brought from Nazarick. In the back of the room was the flag of Aints Ul Gown, the flag of the Nation of Darkness. Aints crossed the room and went to the bay window. On top of a nearby shelf was a glass box, not terribly large. It contained a miniature forest reproduced inside. It didn't look like there were any creatures, but Aints stuck a finger in and flipped up a leaf. There, hidden from the sun, was a tiny animal. Its slick flesh-colored form was coated with a slime it apparently secreted. One end of its body resembled human lips. Aints observed the lip bug closely. Nice complexion. I am glad to see you doing well. He remembered being told that the color was important. He had been shown a few different lip bugs and learned how to tell which one was in the best condition. This one was definitely doing better recently. Aints took some fresh cabbage off a plate nearby. Look, slimy boy. Time to eat. When he moved the cabbage toward the lip bug, it chomped down. He let go and the bug continued munching away. The creature finished the cabbage in the blink of an eye. Aints gave him a couple more leaves. Entoma had warned him not to feed it too much, so he left it at that. Having eaten its fill, the lip bug must have been satisfied. It slowly returned to the shade of a tree in the box, where it could relax. At first this thing creeped me out, he murmured to no one in particular, but now that I've had it for a while, it's pretty cute. He smiled sunnily, before replacing the box's thin lid. The fact that he used a lid that wouldn't pose much of an obstacle if the bug was serious about escaping showed that he was caring for it properly. Then again, it was a mercenary monster that he de-summoned with gold pieces, so he wasn't sure if it would just run away eventually on its own. Aints wiped his hands with the cloth sitting next to the box. He sat in his chair and leaned back after completing his morning routine. Did he have to start work now? It wasn't as if he had a set start time, but once it reached around this hour, he began feeling gloomy. He guessed he hadn't really managed to shake his old habits. There wasn't a single document on his desk. There wasn't even a speck of dust. It was very different from Satoru Suzuki's workspace. The reason for the tidiness was that he didn't have any work that carried over to the next day. Aints' job was to make big decisions. He didn't carry out miscellaneous tasks. Once the decisions were made, the rest was left to his subordinates. It was so rough, though. For the first time, he realized that the weight of responsibility made work so unbearable. That mental exhaustion, the pressure, was tougher to handle than physical labor. Also, he thought it was about time for that thing to get started. He didn't even have to look at a clock. Just then, there was a knock on his door. Fifth, who was standing by, confirmed the identity of the visitors. Lord Aints, it's Mistress Albedo and the Elder Liches. Her tone was deferential even when speaking of the Elder Liches because Aints had personally created them. I see, let them in. Fifth yielded the way to the visitors. Albedo led 6 Elder Liches, each holding paperwork, into the room. Good morning, Lord Aints. Following Albedo's greeting, the Elder Liches all bowed deeply. Right, morning, Albedo. Seems like we'll be having good weather again today. Yes, I heard the sky will be clear all day. Of course, the weather can be changed to whatever the absolute ruler of this world wishes. Do you have any requests, Lord Aints? All I wanted to do was use a benign topic as an excuse to have a conversation, and that's where you go. That won't be necessary. I am not against fluctuations in weather. Sun is nice, but rainstorms with lightning have their own charm, and silently falling snow is rather atmospheric. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that each day begins with the pleasures of capricious weather. He wasn't opposed to the changing weather in this world. With its healthy environment, the rain was actually a blessing, just as Blue Planet had once explained to him. It was good for nature to stay natural. Understood. I did notice that you weren't interested in controlling the weather, but I took the liberty of making the suggestion just in case, since you don't always order us to fulfill your desires. I don't. I am pretty sure I do. When he thought about it, there wasn't really anything specific he wanted. Back when he was Satoru Suzuki, there wasn't anything unrelated to Yggdrasil that he really pined for, and now there was even less. He wasn't sure if it was a side effect of becoming an undead or not, but there was a good chance it was simply his personality. If there was anything he wanted, it was rare items to add to his collection. And Aints smiled sadly and shook his head gently. Well, maybe that's true, but it's only because there's nothing I truly desire. If I think of something, I'll give the order. When the time comes, I, as captain of the Guardians, will promptly select those most capable of satisfying your request." Albedo bowed her head slightly, and when she lifted it up again, her face was a little red. "By the way, your outfit today is delightful. It's radiant." "No, the clothes are radiant because you're the one wearing them, my lord." Albedo really laid on the praise. "I am gleaming because this outfit has jewels instead of buttons. It's not like my head shoots out beams of light," thought Aints as he nodded. "Is that so? Thank you, Albedo. You needn't waste your thanks on me, my lord. I only speak the truth. You really are." Albedo was getting excited. He sensed she was going to start rambling and held up a hand to stop her. "That's plenty, Albedo. Now then, those are the documents you guys processed yesterday, right?" "Yes, my lord." Albedo's cheeks were pouting slightly in a cute way as she directed the elder liches to set the papers on the desk. Each bundle was thick. Aints didn't have that many things to deal with, but the information accompanying each matter was extensive. In this world, like at a company, solving complex problems required lots of data on a wide variety of subjects. Aints braced himself mentally. Morning was always a time to steel his resolve. Satoru Suzuki had been a mere employee. He had never been involved in running the company he worked for. If asked whether such a person could rule an entire country, he could say with confidence no. Even someone involved in operations at a company would undoubtedly have had a hard time running a nation. Even worse, Aints was an absolute ruler. Even if what he said was wrong, his subordinates would execute his orders to the letter. Was there anything more terrifying than that? With one wrong word, Aints could cause a mass suicide. So what was a king to do? The answer was simple: he would deal with it the same way he handled the clothes he was wearing. In other words, delegate matters to someone who had the ability. The skill required of a boss was to assign personnel duties that matched up with their strengths. That said, handing off every single thing would be bad. Sure, he could leave everything to Albedo, but even if he was king only for show, the position entailed responsibility. There were certain times and jobs where it was impossible to run away by uttering the phrase "I don't know." Consequently, he always properly reviewed all the papers that came to him before stamping them with the state seal. After clearing a few at a rhythmical pace, he paused, internally chose one as his goal for the day, then read everything he was supposed to know about it. "But I don't understand this. It's about supplies, right? Is it important? I bet the elder liches know I created them. What's with this gap in comprehension? This is so hard to read. It's like a law or something." There were numerous points where it said to refer to the appendix. This sent him flipping through the documents. Then he encountered words at the bottom of some pages that negated the conclusions above. On top of that, there were multiple negatives in one sentence, which made it difficult to parse. Albedo. "Yes, Lord Aints, is there something bothering you?" "No, it's unrelated to this, but I just remembered what's going on with the laws. Though they were calling themselves the Nation of Darkness, they didn't have any of their own laws yet. They were simply using the Kingdom's laws in the meanwhile. I am in the process of drafting them, but if we force them on people, we can expect discontent to build in various corners, so I am unsure how to go about it." Albedo thought nothing of humans, so the statement was rather unlike her, but Aints was relieved. "I consulted with Demiurge, and with the current laws of the kingdom, your powers as absolute ruler are weakened. Therefore we were considering adopting only the first chapter of kingdom law and strictly enforcing that. I am fairly confident in other matters, but that was a huge lie. There was almost nothing he felt sure about. Unfortunately, I don't know much about laws. You guys can do what you think is best. I trust you." "Yes, my lord, understood." Albedo looked happy. Her wings were also fidgeting. For some reason he couldn't fathom, she and Demiurge still thought that he was a genius who was always thinking one step ahead of them. So whenever he said he didn't understand something, it seemed that they were thrilled to have a chance to fulfill their purpose as beings created to be intelligent and knowledgeable. "But I will say, Lord Aints, there's no need to lie and claim you don't know much about laws. No, it's really true. I have no idea how to handle legal issues." "Ah, I see now. You're coming from the perspective of an absolute ruler, unbound by legislation." "I understand." Aints felt she was misunderstanding him, but he didn't say anything. Mostly he didn't know what to say. Instead, he let a suppressed laugh slip out. He was barely familiar with the concept, but he felt like this might be like when a child wanted to proudly announce something to their parents. "Did I amuse you?" Albedo's puzzled face made Aints even happier, but it was rude to laugh on his own. Sorry, you ray cute when you ray happy or something like that. It's hard to explain. The moment he said it, the 8-edged assassins flinched on the ceiling, but there was no further movement. Oh dear, how embarrassing. Albedo hid her face in her hands. Then Aints noticed how hard she was blushing and finally realized how mortifying his words were. He cleared his throat and tried to look anywhere else. He always ended up spewing cheesy lines whenever he interacted with the NPCs. He loved them as his friends' children. While he chided himself, he stamped the last of the documents. For now his work was done. He handed the suggestions to Albedo. She had been busy wiping her mouth. She turned them over to the elder liches. Okay, let us do our usual thing. Here are today's suggestions. Aints took a sheet he prepared from a drawer. This was a list of proposals from all the various members of Nazarick. He was collecting opinions and ideas about where the future of the Nation of Darkness might be headed. Aints always ran his eyes over it and presented a clean version to Albedo in the morning. It's such a waste of your precious time for you to do things like edit this list. No, there could be suggestions for me personally in there. And besides, I don't sleep. I have to do something to keep busy. That was a lie. Well, it wasn't a lie that he would be bored if he was doing nothing. But he had no shortage of diversions: reading, soaking in a bath, rehearsing his acting, mock battles, etc. So to have to do this was a bit. Actually, some of the ideas were Aints'. If he suggested them directly, everyone risked bending over backward to realize an idea they were secretly unhappy with. This could lead to miserable results. He wanted Albedo to consider the proposals fairly, so he kept everything anonymous. By the same token, his competence would never be brought into question. Keeping everyone's true identities hidden killed two birds with one stone. Aints read the first proposal. It would be good to build a facility to educate children. Discovering promising individuals and training them will lead to a future increase in Nazarick's power. Even if it isn't a direct boon, it could still lead to discovering new technologies, and the fortification of the tomb is what this person has to say. Aints looked straight at Albedo and readied a question for her. This is a solid proposal that clearly outlines the benefits of its plan. I can tell whoever submitted this has a great mind. We could even distribute this as an example of a strong proposal. After praising the document as a working adult would, he returned to a more serious expression, although his face didn't move, of course. Who do you suppose wrote this? I think it was Yuri Alpha, she answered immediately, and Aints agreed. Right, it must be Yuri. So what do you think about it, Albedo? I think it's utterly stupid. Pigs should live as pigs, be useful to their owner, and then die. They shouldn't live any other way. There is no reason for them to know another lifestyle, nor do they have the right to choose one. That's a harsh way to put it, but I agree. You can become a cog in society with a bare minimum of education. Living and dying like that is good enough. Spreading technology is tantamount to giving away the power to threaten him. What's the matter, Lord Aints? I remember having a similar conversation a while ago. Who was I talking to? Narbarl and Lupus Regina. Right, about potions. I didn't need to explain all this stuff to you since you already understand. How embarrassing. Do me a favor and forget I ever mentioned it. No, I believe it's important for us to compare ideas, so please continue. Oh well, it's embarrassing, but these are just my personal thoughts. If anything is wrong, correct me. There was nothing more embarrassing than explaining something cleverly to someone who was already well versed in the subject. Though Aints worried that Albedo would think he was an idiot, he shared his opinions about technology. Knowledge and education, as well as information, were the first weapons that humans, and in this world, other beings as well, could wield. While the spread of knowledge could increase a nation's strength, it also had the potential to foster discontent that didn't exist before. That was why a ruler had to consider whether to give the people a weapon or not. There was a real chance it could be turned against them. Aints had learned valuable lessons about information during his days in Yggdrasil. That was why he dispatched the two Belaires to make potions in Karn, a location he had under adequate surveillance. He could monopolize the advancements and ensure they didn't leak. Aints wanted those he ruled to remain under his rule. He wanted to keep the ignorant living in ignorance. But it was imperative to develop new technology and increase his nation's strength. Ultimately, it was a question of which way the weapon of knowledge was pointed. In conclusion, new technologies can be shared with and used among those who are absolutely loyal to the great tomb of Nazareth. Older technology that 1T cause issues if the masses use it can be allowed to spread freely. I think the saying goes, the fruits of wisdom are only valuable if monopolized, if I am not mistaken. After speaking his mind, Ain't stole a glance at Albedo's face. She didn't seem confused or distrusting, and here is my main point, Albedo. This will sound like the opposite of what I was just saying, but I think we should adopt this proposal. Albedo's eyes grew wide for a moment. To what end, my lord? Sentiment. And I think Yuri has a point. It seems to me that the disadvantages are far greater. Or is it that you would plan to establish the school in a remote region? If you made sure no information leaked to the outside world through brainwashing, there would be more benefits. I won't be doing anything like that. It's a bit different from Yuri's idea, but I think it would be good to build an orphanage in this city. While living as Mormon, Aints had learned that shrines ran orphanages. If that was the case, he figured he could open one in the name of Aints Ul Gaun. Basically, the core issue we're contending with is the possibility of Nazareth's technology leaking to the outside world. To prevent that, all we need to do is operate the facility normally. We shouldn't share any knowledge greater than what any local would know, and if someone shows promise, then and only then would we start to think about their future. That would work, right? I see. Certainly if that was all, then it wouldn't be a problem, and I am thinking we could employ widows as the staff. So you would be giving jobs to, and thus saving women who must be struggling in poverty after losing their husbands in that battle where you displayed some of your great power. Rescuing widows and orphans sounds like a brilliant way to boost approval in your rule. I expected nothing less from you, my lord. Indeed. However, taking action after various widows appeal to Mormon with their plights will only improve his reputation. If that happens, mine will hardly budge. That means we need to act quickly, before anyone comes to him with the idea. In order to do that, first of all I order Pistonia and Negrido to be released from disciplinary confinement. Aints was sharp enough to notice the light in Albedo's eyes change slightly. With all due respect, I fear that pardoning the crimes of those who went against your judgment without punishment will upset the rule of order in Nazareth. Didn't we punish them by putting them in disciplinary confinement? I find that extremely lenient. Your words are our everything, Lord Aints. Going against them is the greatest sin. Personally, I suggest beheading. That he had been about to say ridiculous, but he realized how much the denizens of Nazareth worshipped him and the other 41 supreme beings. To deny that would be cruel. That was also precisely why they had to be forgiven. Aints' friends designed their personalities. It could be said that Pistonia's and Negrido's actions were the will of his friends. If Aints demanded it, Albedo would no doubt obey, but that was his last resort. First, he wanted to try to persuade her. Ultimately, the order I issued was to prevent the outside world from discovering that Nazareth was pulling the strings behind the incident in the kingdom. We needed to dispose of children, of course, but Pistonia and Negrido saved an infant who won't remember a thing. That means there was never a need to eliminate the baby. You could say they accurately interpreted my intentions. They twisted your words as was convenient for them. That sort of behavior mustn't be tolerated. Albedo was the captain of the Guardians. She understood how she felt. That's why he was trying to find a good way to persuade her. The wry smile he wore when he wasn't sure what to do appeared on his naturally immobile face. Lord Aints, making that face is no fair, Albedo murmured, blushing slightly. Aints touched his face. Really? Yes, she said in a faint voice before averting her eyes and sighing. When she looked back up, her expression was back to normal. Understood. After all, your words are everything to us. I will happily obey. I'd really like you to agree based on logic, not emotion. That's no problem. I doubt anyone in Nazareth would be dissatisfied with their release other than myself. I see that's good. Then I'll have those two run the orphanage. Understood. I will inform them of the decision. Thanks. I guess we should move on to the next item. Ain't swallowed hard. Next on the list was something he suggested. This doesn't seem like a great idea, but well, I'll read it anyway. He continued, glancing at Albedo to observe her expression. Someone says we should create uniforms to increase solidarity within Nazareth. Albedo's beautiful eyebrows angled downward immediately. What an outrageous, trashy proposal. Who submitted that? Ain't suppressed his urge to say I am sorry and instead appeared flummoxed. Well, I don't know. I already got rid of the original slips of paper. This is no good. I can believe someone would waste your precious time with this utterly inferior suggestion. I think we should perform a survey and come up with some punishment for whoever turned it in. We don't need to do that. Got it, Albedo? Absolutely no survey. Despite internally thinking, whoa, ain't stated his position with confidence. I wanted to hear a diverse range of opinions from all sorts of beings who reside within Nazarick, which was why I declared I wouldn't be upset no matter what kind of proposals are suggested.